with no chaser. I'ma give it to you straight with no chaser. Straight with no chaser. I'ma give it to you straight with no chaser. Hey, what's going on? It's the one and only ManDeleon, the Al Capone of the microphone, and I want to welcome you all to ManDeleon, straight with no chaser. Man, I'm excited, man. We're gonna have a great show tonight. I'm excited about the guests we got. I'm not even gonna hold y'all up, man. So tonight, we have an author. She's a playwright, and obviously she's a beautiful person altogether. But we have the lovely Miss Pamela Davis-Noland. How you doing?
Hey, hi there, ManDeleon. Thank you for letting me come on your show tonight. I really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Appreciate you for coming on and doing beautiful work, which we gonna talk about.
Yes.
So first of all, kind of before we get started, I kind of just want the people to just, tell the people a little bit about yourself and then what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Awesome. I'd love to. So first of all, I'm celebrating 20 years. I want to say that first and foremost. I'm so excited to announce 20 years anniversary of my first novel. This is where it all began. Coffee Colored Dreams. Was published, I guess, like in 2003. Yeah, exactly. And it's also been adapted into a stage play a couple of years later. That started my theater career. So yes, I am an author, a novelist, a playwright, and as of recent 2023, I'm also a screenwriter who's preparing to film my first short film this winter, this October, this fall. Yeah. So I'm really excited to say that too. So now I can add author / playwright / screenwriter to my resume now.
Right.
But I'll be writing, yeah.
Now, and I was going, you kind of beat me to the chase because I was going to get into that.
All right.
Because like we know about the book, we celebrating the book. That's why we here.
Yeah.
Coffee, Colored Dreams. That's why we here. But I want you to tell, like I said, so tell me about the stage. I mean, the play that tell me about, what is it? I had it wrote down and then I don't have it in front of me no more. But you just spoke about it. The
film or the other plays.
The film.
Oh, the film. Okay, the film Room for Dessert. My husband is like,
Room for Dessert, because I was about to say something dessert, and I was like, man, I don't have it in front of me all of a sudden. Like
it's Room for Dessert.
Yeah,
we've been promoting and marketing and raising funds for Room for Dessert all year long, and it's actually a short film that was adapted from a stage play, a one-act play that was written in 2015, and with rave reviews. It's about systemic racism. It's a very heavy subject, and it was written on the heels of a lot of the Black men being murdered by the police. Just put it out there, and that particular time, and it was my answer to what I thought could take place if one young man decided that he had had enough of systemic racism, and that's Room for Dessert. Just to give you a little sample of that film, right? But that's a little bit heavy. Let's stick with Coffee Colored Dreams, which is fun and light and love story. And yes,
look, that's what we'll do. But look, I just want the people to know, like, look, you ain't, you multifaceted. You really, you got a lot going on.
Yeah, a couple of things.
Right. But okay, like you say, we're gonna talk about this. So, Coffee Colored Dreams was your first novel.
Yes.
So I know it's a love story, based in New Orleans.
Yeah.
So give me a little backstory of how you became to write the novel, and then if the little backstory got anything to do with some real life events.
Yes, I'd love to. So yes, absolutely, it was real life events. When I started writing Coffee Color Dreams, it was at this one point in my life. You know how we go through this breakup in a relationship, and
Mm-hmm.
you want to just get it out there somehow. So it actually started off as journaling. It was on the heels of a breakup. I can't even tell you what the relationship was. It was a long, 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 long time ago. But
Mm-hmm.
I was journaling, and I was also watching across the street. I was on my balcony, and I was watching a couple across the street from me, and they were arguing again. And at that moment, I said to myself, "Wow, why is it so difficult, for young Black women to, to be in relationships and have successful relationships?" Is what I was thinking as a young Black woman at the time. And so, I just started just writing notes and what my dream guy would be, who he would be, and what he would be like, and what the relationship would be like. And that's
Right.
how Coffee Color Dreams actually came about. Was my personal fantasy of what I felt like I would love to have at that particular time. It's not autobiographical, but at the same time, it is a fantasy of what I had at that particular time, of what I felt like I wanted. And I chose New Orleans, although I wasn't living there at the time. I chose New Orleans because it was one of my favorite cities in Louisiana. It was my second home. I'm from Lake Charles, Louisiana, which is 3 hours away from New Orleans, Louisiana. And so the backdrop is all New Orleans pre Katrina, and so there's a lot of history there and lots of things about the old New Orleans that we probably wouldn't see now, present day New Orleans. So there's that, and so yeah, it's a beautiful love story, and it's up close and personal view of this couple because both Celia Dubois, she's the female antagonist, and Jeffrey Jackson, who is the male antagonist of the story, protagonist of the story, and both of these are the main characters, both of them, the male and the female, and they both tell you their story in alternate chapters. So you get to hear their story
Mm-hmm.
personally. Like, for instance,
Right.
Celia might say in one chapter her personal thoughts of how Jeff may perceive her or what he may be thinking about her or whatever the situation may be. And then you read the next chapter and it's Jeff speaking and it's totally different from what she thinks. So it's usually that's how it is in relationships, right? And so
Right.
now you're being a fly on the wall of someone,
Right.
a couple meeting for the first time and getting to know each other, and the book follows through their relationship until the end of the book, when you have to wait to the end of the book to see what happens. But we get to follow this couple, from the very beginning, when they meet, when they fall in love, when they have their ups and downs, and trying to juggle relationships, and that time was actually written in the 90s. So that part as well. So juggling a relationship as a young Black female in the 90s. It's Celia
Mm.
Dubois and Jeffrey Jackson's story, set in beautiful New Orleans, and it's a lot of fun.
You make it sound really interesting, and I love your take. I love the take on how I mean, just how you give both point of views.
Right,
Like
right,
because
right.
obviously, my point of view is different than her point of view, and then
Exactly.
and it's never like what you would think.
Never,
It's
never.
never.
No,
It,
it's
it,
time,
it,
and
it-
it's difficult because as a man, it's hard to think for a woman, and as a woman, it's hard to think for a man. But as a writer, I was able to do both, which was fun for me to think like a man, to think what a man would say or man would think. And I get that question a lot, like how were you able to write his character, And
Mhm.
basically, what I did was I pulled from my own, past relationships, my brother, conversations with friends, those things. And I was able to, conjure up this beautiful Black man named Jeffrey Jackson who fell in love with this phenomenal woman named Celia Dubois, and who spoke his truth, and so it's fun. Yeah.
so
No
so
holds barred.
no hold
Straight with
bar.
no chaser.
All right, because you know what, because you give me the feeling like it's a little spicy, like it might it's a little spicy read.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
there's some spicy characters. I will say that.
okay,
There are two actually very spicy characters. But Celia and Jeff themselves are just, some really cool people, Actually I can take a little bit of the subject matter that I touch on, a few things that I touch on in the book. One of them is celibacy. One of the characters, and you got to read to find out, is practicing
okay.
celibacy. One out of the couple is practicing celibacy. So that part, right? Trying to yeah, right, in a new relationship.
That sounds like a line I used to use. That sounds like a line I used to use.
Just when the relationship, I'm celibate.
Right, right. Be like,
Okay,
nah, baby, I'm celibate right now. I ain't even,
right.
we
So that's
good.
that part. And then I also touch on another subject in our community, in our Black community, that we don't really discuss a lot, and it's colorism. I touch on that
Mm.
subject as well. Celia's a beautiful dark-skinned woman. Jeffrey Jackson is Creole. He's light-skinned and Creole. And so there's that stigmatism, especially in Louisiana, where I come from, where lighter is brighter and lighter is greater in the whole 9 yards. And so she was the character, Celia Dubois, had a little bit of insecurity with herself because of her skin color. And so I talk
Right.
about that. I talk about that as well, colorism. So it's a beautiful love story, but it also touches on a few things in the community and in society that we rarely talk about, right? And so it opens up a lot of dialogue and conversations when people share the book, when they share the story and talk about the story, especially when we talk about the colorism, celibacy, and things like that.
So
Yeah.
so I wanna look at this for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Being that you wrote this book 20 years ago,
Yeah.
right? And
Right.
and, and, and you got and look, you wrote it 20 years ago about a couple in the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
But today, how does that translate to today? Like, is it still like a love story is still a love story? Does it transcend? Like, because now
Oh,
that we're
absolutely.
celebrating it 20 years later, so obviously it does. But I
Yeah.
mean, but your perspective, like, like now, like, wow, it's still relevant. Like for instance, good music, right? Whether
Mm-hmm.
it was a
Mm-hmm.
hit on the charts or not, good music to you was good music. Like it was, like sometimes that best song to you was on the B side. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Right. Right.
Or
Right.
it wasn't so much. It was, it was like popular at, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if it's a good analogy, but like let's just say the movie Scarface was a classic to a lot of people, but it
Right.
wasn't big at the box office when it came out. Like it was
Right.
like,
Right.
but it's a classic amongst people. So in saying that, like, it's been 20 years since you wrote that. Like, how's the dynamic changed, or how's the much like really stayed the same?
Well, a love story is a love story is a love story. You know what I mean? It really transcends over years and times. But let me make one quick correction. I
Hmm.
actually started writing the book in 1994. I kid you not. I started
Okay.
writing that book in 1994, and I
Okay.
played around with it for like 10 years before I took it serious. And so it
Okay.
wasn't until 2003 when it was actually published, but it had been written and completed probably 3 to 4 years prior to that. And there's an awesome story behind that story, actually, and how it became published under my own publishing company, because it had gotten picked up by two major publishing houses in the country. Harper's Books had picked it up and offered a deal that I respectively declined. It wasn't what I had wanted. And then the same editor at Harper Books got a better job at St. Martin's Press, one of the biggest publishing houses in the country, and she was hired to be. Oh, her name is Monique Patterson, and she's actually still there to this day. And she was hired to be over the African American new branch of books, because at that time Terry McMillan and everyone else and all these great Black
Right.
women had
Right.
these books coming
Right.
out, right? In St. Martin
Right.
Press, they wanted a piece of that action, and so they hired her to bring on writers. And so she took the job, and at the time called my agent at the time, Marlene Connor Lynch was my agent at the time, and she called her, my literary agent, and asked her, "Have you guys find someone to publish the book yet?" And we were like, "Not yet. We're still shopping it around." And she's like, "Look, I got this job at St. Martin's Press, and this I want to bring it with me. And we were like, cool, bring the manuscript with you. And so she did, but she was a newbie. She was a new kid on the block. And, although they were excited about her passion behind the manuscript she had under her arm when she walked in the door, they made her shelve it. And so Coffee Colored Dreams sat on the shelf at St. Martin's Press in a stack of manuscripts for a little bit over a year. And I was like, nah, give me my manuscript back. I mean, I'm not going to, did 10 years of writing it and, and all these great accolades. And of course, because it's being picked up by two different, it must be good, right? It was professionally edited. And so what I did was I established Keen Amity Publishing, my own publishing company, and published Coffee Colored Dreams myself. And have been my own publisher, my own marketer, my own number one fan, you name it. I have been doing it for 20 years, and not alone though. I will say I've had some amazing help, and I'm thinking two of my people are online here with me and watching live. I want to give them a shout out. Carlos Graves, she's also an author. She wrote the book Foggy Windows. She's on live with us. She is
she is in here right now. She says she loves Coffee Colored Dreams.
Yes, very influential in helping me get the book and getting my publishing company and getting the book out there and getting out in the public and getting it sold and promoting me, and also Carrington Lay. He was also part of the Three Musketeers. He's also an author and a writer, tremendous writer, and he also helped to get the book up and running, and they're still with me. 20 years later, they're both still with me, and so
that's amazing.
I didn't do it alone.
that's amazing. So I know we're celebrating this 20 years, and I don't want to kind of get off of that too much, but being that you did establish your own publishing company, so how many writings do you have that's published that you have published, and then do you have other people published under your company?
I unfortunately don't have anyone published under my company, but I'm a writing coach. And so what I do is I coach other writers, and I take them through the process to get from their vision until the actual, until this. And so as their writing coach, we go from, let me hear your story. Let's get your story out. And once your story is out and written, let's get it edited. Let's get it typeset. Let's get it to where you want to get it marketed or whatever. If you want me to publish it, let's do it. If you want to just go through print on demand with Amazon, I can help you do that as your writing coach. So although, no, I'm the only author through my publishing company, but I do help other authors get their work.
Go ahead, hold that up, man. Get the book some shine. You can hold that up, man. Look, you giving it like a little. Look, man, go ahead, man. Look.
So I'm happy to say that I help other authors, though. Yeah, that's what I was trying to get out.
But being that you're holding the cover up, where did the idea from the cover up? How did you come up with the idea for that cover?
Oh, cool question. Okay, so this is the second cover. This is the second cover. The first cover, I was on a budget, right? A shoestring budget, and so the first cover, which I don't have it right here, it's in a chest somewhere. But the first cover, I know someone has it out there. A lot of people actually have it out there. The first cover was really just very generic, very just. It's a coffee cup. The other cover, and it has like a I think it's like smoke coming out of the coffee cup of a couple or whatever have you. But anywho, this one came 10 years later when the funds for me was a little bit better, and I was able to search and find a great illustrator, a great someone to do my book cover for me. He's actually in Paris. He did this for me. And I just gave him my idea. He said, what's the book about? And I said, love and colorism. And so he gave me this. So there's the heart.
Like love, right. Right. So I love that. And it represent both of it represent him and her. Like, she's the dark skin beauty. He's the right. I get it now that I know, right?
There's a little coffee cup. So yeah, we went back and forth a lot with and with the idea of what I wanted. I just really wanted something to represent what I was trying to say in the book, right? So
definitely. So yeah. I got somebody that's in the chat, and they're wanting you to talk about your workshop that you got coming up this Saturday.
Yes. So I'm excited to say, on my 20th anniversary tour, this will be my third stop for the book tour. at the Book Tavern on Broad Street in Augusta, Georgia. James Brown Town, yay. So I'm happy to say that I'm going to be there for my third stop. Well, what I had done in the past with the other two stops was during the book signing, I would do a mini workshop and do it live and invite people to join me and have other people that would come in, and they would do a little exercises, writing exercises, and I'd give them a little snippet of what my workshop or what my writing coach, what it would be to have me as a writing coach in workshop form. So I did that, and the feedback was phenomenal, right? And so when I spoke with the owner of the Book Tavern, David, he's a real nice guy, at the Book Tavern, and I let him know this is what I do at my book signings. He was like, we have a lot of writers here. Are you interested in doing a larger workshop? And I was like, well, yeah, I've done it in the past. I've done, quite a bit of time. And he was like, well, let's do that. So it was actually his idea to do a 2-hour longer version of my workshop. And so with that, so Saturday morning from 10 to noon, I'll be facilitating a 2-hour workshop. And then from, I guess, 1 or 2-ish from on or whatever time, I'll be there signing books and talking to people and things like that about the book, and maybe do a small reading of the book. So that's going on this Saturday the 9th, 10 a.m. for the workshop. Yeah.
All right.
So I want to give the website if people would like to sign up for the workshop. It's not too late, and they can just go to thebooktavern.com and go to events, and they'll see all the information there on how to sign up and everything.
All right, there it is. And I actually have right there that it's actually on September 9th. They can go to the Book Tavern in Augusta, Georgia.
Awesome.
But it's not, but just go ahead at .com, booktavern.com, and you'll see her right at the top. I went on there myself. You'll see it right at the top of the website. Awesome. Go ahead and register. I wish we didn't already have something planned. We would be right there ourselves.
Oh, that would be so cool to see you guys to come through too. It's fun. The workshop was a lot of fun. Tell them, Carlos, because you come every time. The workshop was a lot of fun. We do fun writing exercises, and those of you who think you don't have a story or you don't know how to write, it would workshop with me, you'll see that everyone has a story. I know you've heard people say this a lot. I should write my book, or I got a story. Well, everyone does. Everyone does. But how you present it and how you write it and how you get it out there and how you market it is what I help you do, right? Because everybody has a story, right?
But what if you got like more than like one story? What if you got like a whole gang of stories and you don't know which story you want to tell first? Like,
we can do one at a time.
Like, I got some stories. Right? Right. But like, when the idea of flood you, you be like, you know what? Well, hold up, I want to talk about, but this might be more interesting. Then you be like, well, what do I want for my first book though? Then I see what I'm saying? Like, it could become a lot.
You know what, ManDeleon? It's funny you should say that. Because that's one of the things that I cover in my workshop, especially with serious writers, like people who are really serious and that tend to have lots of writer's block and don't know where to go next. And it's really a lot of times it's because they're trying to put so much into one story. And so that's one of the things that we go over and we discuss in the workshop is how to get rid of some of that stuff, right? And to just keep your story, this is the story, right? And not to add your other 17 stories to this one story, right?
Because I was going to actually ask you that, and you kind of just like kind of got right to it. Because I was like, because I used to write. I mean, not no book, but I used to write. I'll just leave it at that. But I've had times where where you get that kind of writer's block, and then even what you said right there just kind of made sense, because it's like you feel like you want to tell a story, but you don't know where to start. Or you don't know, like, and then because you're trying to do too much, and then you don't do nothing, and then you just kind of at a standstill. So I get that part.
And that happens a lot.
Right. Yeah. So I wish I could
and
make
so that's
it.
why lots of writers
love to know what that is. I need help with that. because I'm gonna
Yeah.
get back to writing. I'm gonna get
Yes.
back
You
to
got to
writing.
make it to one of my workshops. Yeah. And you got to make it to one of my workshops. And I guarantee you will get back to writing again. It's about freeing yourself and freeing your mind, right? And
Right.
so many people are trying to get to the end of the story, trying to get to the end of the story, where you
God.
going?
Wow.
Where you going?
Wow. Wow. You know
Yeah.
what? That just made so much sense to me. Like just in that little bit, that just made so much sense to me because I thought back to where when I was able, it wasn't so much like it's like I feel like I put pressure, right? So if you
You're
put
right.
pressure on yourself,
Right.
it's just like because you're trying to get to, like you say, you're trying to get to the end because I want to create something and then tell myself how great it is or whatever, right? And then
Yes.
you never
Yes.
get to that
Yes. It's
because you
that
kind
pressure.
of because you want it to be so, you just never really get to that. So I definitely understand that. Um, I want to know
Right.
what she mean by facts. Like I don't know what you said, but also she said, what are some of the things a new author can do to get started?
Well, one of the things a new author can do to get started is to read, right? Read
Mhm.
other works, read other books that you feel like that's your genre, that's your thing. That's this is the kind of story I want to tell. This is how I want to tell my story. Now, not to mimic it or anything like that, but just to get your juices flowing and just to get an idea of, oh yeah, okay, of how you could do that. I always recommend that first for all new authors, just to read as much as you can, right? And then the second thing for new authors to always do is to just jot down your ideas, jot down your thoughts. I don't care how silly you think they are, how strange you think that. Just write them down, just jot them down, right? And just get them out. And then go back and just read them, that at one, just like wait a few days, go back and read, and see what you got, see, and then follow that, and just follow that. And so it it doesn't have to be so strategic for new authors and new writers. What it has to be, it has to be comfortable, and you have to set yourself free, right, in order to express yourself. We have a creative license, we really do. We have the license to say and be and do and make our characters say and do whatever we want, right? So we as writers, especially new authors, tend to put ourselves in a box, right? And say, oh, if I write this, oh, sister so and so at the church gonna read it, and oh Lord, she might tell someone. We put ourselves in a box just for little things like that. We never free ourselves enough to just be able to get our stories out. So that's the first thing I always tell new authors. First, read, right? Secondly, jot down your thoughts, free yourself get out of your box, free yourself, even if you have to change your name, right? Because a lot of authors go by pseudonyms. Actually, Pamela
Right.
Davis-Noland is my pseudonym. That's not my legal name, right? It's the name I go by as an author. And so yeah, if you choose to do so, but free yourself. I always say that, free yourself. And that's one of the things that we definitely go through with my workshops. It's the free writing. It's called a free writing exercise. And that one is the best one of all. And I'm not going to give it away. If you want to know about it, come and
Right. I was
sign up
about
and
to say, I was like,
that's
yeah.
all you get.
um,
Okay, sign up and I'll
and
tell you
so,
all about it. And I guarantee you'll be a writer before you know it, messing with me.
so, so what advice do you have for someone who, let's say, they like, I want to tell my story, but because like, maybe they feel like they're not that they're not educated, but maybe they're not like when it comes to grammar, maybe I'm not too nice with they got a story to tell, but they're not really great at writing. Maybe or they're worried about, I mean, obviously, people write, you got to get an editor and everything, but for the most part, somebody that might be a little discouraged because they just feel, they might not be as bad as they think, but they just feel that way. Like, hey, I don't really talk a certain way. My grammar is not this and that. Like, how could I really, what advice would you have somebody they might feel they got a story to tell, but they don't know how to really get it out?
Right. My advice to them will be record it. Record it. There are people that will write it for you. There are ghostwriters. There are people who, not, like myself, who will, you can pay us. We'll write it. We'll type it up for you. We'll edit it for you.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get it together. If it's a great story, yes, you will find people out there that will help you get your story out. You don't have to be able to type 50, 60 words a minute. You don't have to be able to type at all, right? When I first started writing Coffee Colored Dreams, I wrote Coffee Colored Dreams. I didn't type Coffee Colored Dreams. I hand wrote.
Oh, you was like,
I have every composition notebook still to this day of the handwritten Coffee Colored Dreams novel manuscript. I handwrite, and I do that. That's just my method anyway. I handwrite everything
ink or number 2 pencil.
Yes,
ink or number 2 pencil. I'm just curious. I'm sorry.
That's just my method. Yeah. Well, because when I started writing Coffee Colored Dreams, check it out. In 1994, I didn't have a computer. There was no such thing as everyone in the house have a laptop and a computer, and everyone. It wasn't a thing back then, right? I had a notebook, and when I graduated from that, I graduated to a typewriter, and then a word processor, and then a computer, and then a laptop. So yeah, there's no limits to this thing, right? You limit yourself. There's no limits.
Yep. Right. I mean, I hear you, but like a lot of times, as we do, like we create our own obstacles.
Right. Exactly.
We say like, this is the reason why you can't do something, and but this like they say, where there's a will, there's a way, right?
There's a way, absolutely.
So when you want to do something, you'll find a way. Right. Just as and a lot of times those people that, like I'd have been through things, like I done things where it was easy for me to make an excuse, and the average person be like, yeah, I understand that. Like I get that. I wouldn't have done that either. Like, but like it's easy to have that excuse, but I'm not using that excuse. I'm gonna find a way I'm gonna find a way, because I'm not using that as an excuse, right? So I mean, like, so it's a lot of things you can do, and is there a lesson to be learned in Coffee Colored Dreams?
Yes.
Is it like I mean, I'm not asking too much. I'm not asking you to give it up.
No. No, seriously, there are a lot of them. Because because we get this up close and personal story coming from them, right? Told in first person, right? We get to put ourselves in that position. Like, for instance, there might be a situation where Celia is second guessing herself about blah blah, and so we as the reader is like, girl, you so dumb, because we just read what Jeff said, prior to that in the chapter before.
Right,
so we already read. So we already know. So we stay one step ahead of the game a little bit also in their relationship as well. So what we learn is that we get stuck in our own shit, right? And we project a lot in relationships, right? We come with, can I say shit? I don't even know if I can say that.
Well, you have. I
mean, okay. But most relationships, okay, well, most, right, too late now, but most relationships come with some baggage, man, right? And so one of the things that you learn in Coffee Colored Dreams, just by following this couple and listening to when they're wrong about how they feel or how they think the other person feels, then we can learn ourselves not to be so judgmental or projecting so much in relationships, and taking the time to listen to our partner, and not be so, and not only that, not bringing what we had in the past relationship with us, because you'll find that in Coffee Colored Dreams as well. Both of them got ex-relationship baggage that they're bringing to this relationship that needs to go. Yeah.
Ooh, let it go.
One of them actually physically shows up, right? One of the exes actually physically shows up and tries to, force their way into this thing too, on top of that. And because I'm not gonna say which one, because one of the characters is so kind and feels like they're obligated to still be kind to this person, that person is able to snake their way in. Right. And so that's bullshit, because when you're in a new relationship, there should not even be a crack enough for that person to be able to slide their little slick ass way in the way that character does.
That's so true. That's so true in relationships in itself. Look, if you ain't about it, if you ain't with it, it can't happen. But if you know, like you say, if you open up that, you leave a crack open, you know, they don't need much, you know, and then they kind of change, you know, they
So that's
come in there and
another
change the
lesson.
energy and everything. You own it. I guess, you know, we gotta, you know, you gotta go read it. You gotta go get it yourself. And I so how does it feel? So I know you're going to be in Augusta this Saturday, but you're actually doing a tour, correct? So what other cities are you actually in or going to be in?
Okay, so I went. The first one was actually in Augusta. Actually, the first one was in Augusta, and I ended up going back to Augusta because it was by popular demand. Yay! So the second one was in New Orleans, which was great. It was around Essence Fest weekend, which was great. I had a nice showing of people came through, and so that was really, really cool to be back home and to, you know, see friends and to do the workshop. And my friends came on live, so it was really cool. And so that was my second stop. My third stop is again in Augusta here this Saturday. And the next stop, fingers crossed, will be Atlanta. I'm hoping. Right. So I will actually be in your hometown.
We gonna make it happen. Let me find out let me find somebody with a bookstore.
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it.
And you know what? I'd actually put up some book signings like in some places around here. Like there's I'm gonna get some information. I'm gonna get some information, and
thank you, because I'm
gonna get some information people you can reach out to. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave it at that because I don't want to say that if it don't work out, they be like, man, what happened with them folks? Why they ain't let her go? You know, I ain't gonna start nothing. Yeah. But
well, you know this wonderful. You know, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, you know, this wonderful, beautiful lady named Gigi in Atlanta, and I'm now one of her Gigi beauty babes, and she is in Atlanta, and she's starting a book club called Gigi's Book Club. Or is it Gigi's Beauty Babe? Gigi, say so in the type it up for us. She's starting her book club, and the first book that they're reading is Coffee Colored Dreams. So I am so happy about that.
Oh, see, that's
so yeah, follow Gigi, guys. Gigi's Beauty Bar LLC. She's on TikTok every morning at 6 a.m. I wake up and I go straight to my TikTok so I can watch her every morning. She's beautiful spirit. She's the reason why I'm on this show right now. She's the reason why I'm on the show right now. So thank you, Gigi. I really appreciate you, sweetheart, and your beautiful, beautiful spirit. Thank you.
That she definitely is.
She's amazing. And, you're lucky.
I'm more than blessed. I'm you just don't know. you go. We ain't talking about me though. We ain't talking about me. We talking about you. No, but definitely. But definitely shout out to my queen, the lovely Gigi. Definitely that. But is there anything else you would like to say? But not only that, I do have one question. So out of this is kind of something that I kind of ask everybody. So like out of all the accomplishments that you know have done or have achieved over the years, like what is the one thing that you're like kind of most proud of?
Well, if I had to say right now, it would be my short film that's coming out, Room for Dessert. Just to give you a little story about that. Again, I think I told you a little bit in the beginning, but Room for Dessert was written in 2015, and I was commissioned to write this one-act play for a theater festival in New Orleans, and it had to be something timely and something dark was what they asked me to write about. And at the time, we were on the heels of Tamir Rice, and a few other beautiful Black men who were killed by the police, right? And so I decided to write something that was near and dear to my heart, and it was that. You know, systemic racism, police brutality, our beautiful Black people being killed by the police, and the problem in this country, right? And at that time, I also was had a different battle going on within myself. I was battling cancer at the same time.
Oh wow!
So Yeah, so but I didn't tell them I wanted to write it, so I did. And I, at the time, I really thought it was going to be the last thing I'd ever write. That's because I felt like that was going to be it for me, because I didn't know if I was going to pull through. So I thought this is going to be the last thing that I'm going to leave here, my mark on this earth. This is going to be my last writing. And if this is going to be the last thing I'm able to put out here, it's going to be this, right? And that's Room for Dessert. And although it has a very, very sweet, beautiful title, it's anything but. It's very heavy, and it's one man's point of view, one Black man's point of view. He's suicidal, and a lot of stuff is going on in his life. And at that point, he decides that particular day, when he's watching the news, and yet another police officer has been exonerated from killing another young Black man, on the heels of him just losing his job and a bunch of other things going on, he says, "That's it, I'm out." And he decides to kill himself. But before he does, he goes to his favorite diner to have his last meal. And what transpires there is the story. So while he's there, he, instead of killing himself, he ends up killing everyone in the diner, with the exception of the waitress and the cook. And now he has to explain to the waitress and the cook why he just did this. That's Room for Dessert. And you have to find out his story of why he did
this. That's a lot right there. I'm like, whoa, like yeah. So
right.
so is it actually out? Is it available? What is it?
No, we're gonna shoot. We're shooting October. We've been pre-production all year, and we're shooting in October. We were gonna shoot in July, but as you know, SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, was on strike, and we had to wait because 2 of my actors are SAG actors. So we had to wait to get permission, and we got permission. And so now we can shoot in October. So to answer your question of what is one of my favorite, or what I'm most proud of, it would have to be Room for Dessert, because of the story, because I know that this is something that's needed, right? And being the mother of a Black man, right? Being the wife of a Black man, having brothers, having friends, if I was going to leave anything that I wanted to say, that was going to be it. So Room for Dessert has a very sweet title, right? It's very hard to digest, but very necessary. Very necessary.
Yeah, that's just us.
My husband and I. Can you come? I want to. So my husband. Yeah. Okay. Well, he's actually cooking dinner, but there he is. Can you see it?
I hear him back there chefing it up.
Yeah,
I know what it sounds like to be chefing it up. How you doing?
There he is.
All right.
Yeah, all right, bro. Chopping it up.
I hear you back there, man.
Yeah.
So he and I are actually, the duo for Room for Dessert. We're the dynamic duo, with the help of some great, phenomenal producers and some other talented people who joined forces with us to put this film out. And so next year, hopefully, I'll be back on your show to talk about Room for Dessert.
I can't wait. It sounds like it's going to be great. So I'm definitely I can't wait for that, and with saying all of that, I definitely wish you the best. I definitely appreciate you for coming on my show.
Thank you.
And showing love, and then sharing the love, and then your story, and then not and the book, and not only that, for people to come check you out in Augusta, Georgia, this Saturday at the Book Tavern for the beautiful workshop.
Come out, I'll be there already.
You know what? I got some nieces to stay in Augusta. My aunt used to be down there too, but she moved back home. Mm-hmm. But I need to reach out to them and tell them, look, go on downtown, go on to the Book Tavern. Tell them ManDeleon.
Yeah.
And then purchase a good book.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And here it is again. Okay.
There it is. You see it? It's the lovely. You got the author, the playwright, the lovely Miss Pamela Davis-Noland. Thank you for coming on. Much love and success to you.
Yes, thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. Thank you, Gigi. Thank you, ManDeleon. My husband wants to say thank you. Get over here and say thank you. I'm making him say it.
No problem, man. Hey. All right, man. Y'all take care.
That's my background.
My man got the apron on and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I put him to work. With no shirt. That's how I make him cook.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with it. It ain't be hot in the kitchen. It ain't get hot in the kitchen.
What? Can't take the heat. You know you got to get out.
But at least he got pants on this time.
Hey, look. Now see?
Thank you, ManDeleon. Thank you, Gigi. Thank you, everyone who popped on tonight. I really appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Well, thank you. All right, man. Look, that was definitely so much fun. Right there, you seen it, you heard it. We had a lovely Miss Pamela Davis-Noland celebrating the 20th anniversary of her book, Coffee Colored Dreams. And like you say, right there, you want to check her out. It's right there at the bottom of the screen, September 9th. That's this Saturday at the Book Tavern in Augusta, Georgia. It starts at 10 a.m. So be there early, just in case you got a problem parking and all of that, right? Make sure you go ahead and check it out. Like I said, definitely appreciate it for coming on, and I can't wait for that room for dessert. That sound like something, right? Right. But it's on, man. It's the one and only ManDeleon, the Al Capone of the microphone. I'm out of here like a breeze through the trees, and when I'm going, I'm taking all the leads. Much love and success. Y'all stay blessed.